If you're gearing up for the February LSAT, or really any upcoming LSAT, you're in the right spot. Today we're diving deep into the 7 biggest LSAT test day mistakes that even the most dedicated students make. These pitfalls can derail months of hard work if you're not prepared. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to sidestep them. And as a special bonus, stick around for an 8th tip I'm saving till the end that isn't mentioned anywhere else, and it might just save your test day sanity. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. Now, the first big mistake I see a lot of students making is not properly familiarizing themselves with LawHub. LawHub is LSAC's official platform that mirrors exactly what you'll see on Prometric come test day, and let me share with you why this is so important with a quick story. One of my former students, let's call her Sarah, studied for months using PDFs and practice books from a private prep company. She was scoring in the mid-160s consistently, but then when she sat down for a practice test using LawHub, her score dropped by 5 points. Why? She was thrown off by the interface, the highlighting, underlining, and countdown timer. What you want to note is that LawHub is different. It has a highlighting function, an underlining function, and a digital countdown timer. The timer can be stressful. The highlighting and underlining tools don't work that smoothly. And so if you're going to use them, you have to master them well before test day or consider alternate approaches. Now, if you're using some private prep company's platform, you should know that they are not legally allowed to replicate LSAC's platform 100%. So if you're never using LawHub, you're not really practicing in real conditions. LawHub is $120 a year for dozens of real LSATs in the exact test day format. Given the cost of law school, given the value of getting a higher LSAT score, significant scholarship money, possibly even a full ride, it's well worth the investment. And no, LSAC is not paying me to promote LawHub, although I wish they were. So my advice to you is devote a solid chunk of your final prep to LawHub, simulate test day conditions, set up a quiet space, use the same breaks you'll have on test day, and force yourself to learn the ins and outs of the platform. Now, the second big mistake is obsessing over the proctor. Whether you're taking the LSAT in person or online, proctors can be a major distraction. Proctors in person walk around, maybe they stand behind your desk, or they speak in hushed tones to other proctors, and of course it's easy to get paranoid, wondering if they're looking at your screen or if you're doing something wrong. The online proctors can randomly pop into your session to recheck your ID or address a tech issue, and these interruptions can feel like a violation of your focus. But you can set the ground rules right at the start, politely say something like, "Every second matters on this strictly timed exam. If you need to interrupt me for any reason, please pause the clock." And of course, you'll want to repeat this if a new proctor takes over midway through your exam. And try to ignore what you can. If the proctor is just pacing around or occasionally glancing at you, do your best to tune them out. Don't let these external micro distractions cost you valuable minutes. And of course, expect the unexpected. Sometimes they'll interrupt you without any warning. Have a plan in mind beforehand. Quickly ask them to pause the clock, then refocus on your test. Think of the proctor like white noise. Let them fade into the background so you can zero in on the question right in front of you. The third big mistake is getting bogged down on tough questions. The LSAT is designed to trap you if you let it. Some questions are extra tricky, and that's of course by design. Here's a cautionary tale for you. During timed practice test, one of my students spent 8 minutes on a single logical reasoning question she couldn't crack. In the end, she ended up guessing anyway, but then didn't have enough time to finish the last 5 questions of the section. That one question impacted 5 or more that she definitely could have answered correctly if only she had the time. To avoid these issues, you want to flag questions and then move on. The moment you sense you're stuck, flag it, skip it, keep going. You can always return if time permits. When you come back, you'll have a fresh perspective and you'll be amazed how that second look can dissipate that tunnel vision once you've had the chance to mentally reset. And of course, remember that all questions are worth the same. A logical reasoning question is worth the same as a tough reading comp question. Don't let a single question take up precious time. Your goal should be to maximize your total number of correct answers, but spending 5 extra minutes on a single question that you might miss anyway is the very definition of diminishing marginal returns. Now, the fourth big mistake is letting the countdown timer psych you out. The countdown timer on Law Hub and on test day itself can be your friend or your worst enemy. Here's what typically happens. You keep glancing at the seconds ticking away, feeling your anxiety spike. Your heart rate goes up and your logical thinking goes down. Next thing you know, you've wasted 15 seconds just worrying. Here's what you can do about it though. Hide the countdown timer when you can. You can click it to make it go away, and that alone can reduce your test day jitters significantly. And don't just do that on test day itself, also do it during your practice tests so it'll be second nature when you're under real pressure. Now you should know that once only 5 minutes are remaining, that timer will reappear and you won't be able to make it go away then, but train yourself to see this as a helpful prompt to wrap up or to quickly tackle the questions you flagged. The goal should be to keep your focus on the questions and answers, not the ticking clock. Now, the fifth big mistake is to stress over previous sections. A big difference between a practice test at home and the real LSAT is that once you move from section 1 to section 2, there's no going back. You can't change your answers once the section is over, and that finality can lead to mental rumination where you're thinking to yourself, wait, did I really choose the right answer on question 7? Or distraction spillover when worrying about your past performance sabotages how you do on the next section. And so, to prevent post-section anxiety, practice mental closure. Once you move on, that section is done. In your practice tests, don't let yourself peek back midway or once you finish the section. Also, practice mindfulness. A quick 10-second breathing exercise can help reset your focus before the next section starts. This does not need to be fancy or spiritual, just a couple of deep breaths to help clear your head. And of course, trust the process. If you've studied diligently and you have a consistent method, like for reading comp annotation, for example, trust it. Second guessing after the fact rarely helps. You can't change the past, so instead, funnel all your mental energy into the section that's live right in front of you. Now, mistake number 6 is believing it all comes down to this single LSAT. Yes, of course, the LSAT is critical, but don't let that pressure morph into crippling anxiety, because here's the reality. Law schools only care about your highest score. They don't average multiple LSAT scores. And of course, you can retake. The LSAT is offered 8 times a year, and so if February doesn't go your way, you can regroup for April, June, or beyond. Now, you might be thinking, do law schools really only take the highest score? Yes, they do, because that's all they have to report to the ABA, which in turn is where US News pulls their data from for the law school rankings. And so that's why law schools only care about your best score. And so if you have a bad day, maybe you got sick, maybe your proctor wouldn't pause the clock, the entire world is not going to end. Give yourself the freedom to do your best without the pressure of this being your only shot. Now, if your goal is to score in the 170s and you're feeling the pressure, I totally get it. That's why at LSAT Unplugged, we offer personalized coaching for students who want to maximize their potential and score 170 plus. And so if you're struggling with certain question types, you're not sure how to pace yourself during the test, or you're just looking to fine-tune your strategy for the biggest score jump possible, let's talk. I've helped countless students get over that 170 hurdle. You could check out the links below to book a call, and we can craft a targeted plan to get you the scores you need for the schools you want. Now, mistake number 7 is to experiment with new strategies on test day itself. Test day is not the time to think, I'm going to try something totally new on logical reasoning, or maybe I'll read reading comp passages backward this time. Here's why. Learning a new approach under pressure is a recipe for confusion. You want to be on autopilot with your known strategies that work, not fumbling with brand new methods. Remember, every strategy tweak has a learning curve. If you haven't practiced a technique thoroughly in your study sessions, you don't want to risk it now. Also, test day is when you should be performing, not experimenting. Your prep phase should be like the laboratory where you test out new pacing strategies, question order approaches, or annotation methods. But by test day itself, you should have a game plan that you already trust. If you're still testing things out late in the game, keep it in your practice tests only, never on the real exam. Now, as promised, here is your 8th bonus tip. Don't rely on LSAC's search function. They got rid of Control F, they disabled it, and instead they have a search function, but it's glitchy, it's slow, it is definitely not as robust as you might have hoped, and so you want to practice without it. If it happens to work okay on test day, That's great. Treat it like a bonus, but do not center your entire strategy around it. The safe approach instead is to develop strong reading and scanning skills so you're not depending on a search function that might fail you on test day. Now, if you avoid these mistakes I share with you today, you can actually add 3 to 5 points or more to your LSAT score, especially if you've already got the fundamentals down. Remember, the LSAT is just one step in your law school journey. Of course, it's a big step, but with the right mindset and preparation, you can and will handle it. And if you want that extra edge, maybe you're shooting for a top 14 law school, I'd be glad to help you out in scoring a 170 plus and helping you achieve your LSAT and law school dreams. You could check out the links below to book a call with me and my team. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.